Good morning and welcome to the Camnet Breakfast Show. Well, I'm Patrick Soko, the unfamiliar face for the business for breakfast today, standing in for Prudence Chota. And just get started, I have to make you aware that we have a fully packed up program for you, our dear viewers, and would want you to stick around and make sure that you contribute to some of the stories that we are looking at on Zooming the Headlines. Later on, I'll be having the interview in studio, and just make sure that you also contribute to the subject pertaining to the mining sector, which we have been looking at pertaining to the Friday edition of the Camnet Breakfast Show. Now, to just get started, as per tradition, we're going to look at the health corner with the doctors.
Good morning, and I'm glad that you could join us here on the Health Corner on the Breakfast Show. I am Dr. Nawina Lotto. So this week we have been talking about community-acquired pneumonia, and this is pneumonia that comes about from having an infection that you have gotten from the community that you're living in. We are getting into the cold season, so many people are going to be having this condition because of being indoors mostly and being in close proximity the bacteria or the virus or the fungi that can cause pneumonia. So we discussed that pneumonia can be caused by bacteria, can be caused by virus or a fungi. And we also say that this pneumonia can also present in certain ways, such as having a fever or having a cough and chest pain. If it's very severe, the patient would have difficulties in breathing as well. Then we talked about the diagnosis and treatment, and we say that pneumonia can be diagnosed with a chest x-ray that has to be done at the hospital, and submitting sputum samples to verify or to check what type of bacteria it is and what type of antibiotics to use for this bacteria, or if it's a virus, what type of virus is it. Then we talked about the treatment, and we say that treatment can be done based on the organism causing it. So if it's a virus, then sometimes it can be self-limiting, sometimes you need to take antiviral medications. Then if it's a bacteria, then you need to be given antibiotics. If it's a fungi, you need to be given antifungal medications. So those are some of the ways in which pneumonia can be treated in the hospital. There are certain complications that can arise from pneumonia or having pneumonia, and some of the complications include having an abscess in your lungs. So an abscess can form in your lungs, and it would have to be treated, of course, with the antibiotics or antifungals, depending on the causative agent of that abscess or the pneumonia. Then the other thing is that you could have what we call a pleural effusion. So fluid can accumulate in the pleural space, which is the space outside of your lungs. And so because of the pneumonia that you have, you find that some fluid accumulates in the lungs, and it can be very detrimental to your breathing, so you will not be able to breathe well, and it will have to be drained. Some of the fluid has to be drained from the lungs to relieve that pressure that is created by the fluid in the lungs. Then there are other complications as well, such as having pus in the same pleural space. It can cause pus collection in the pleural space. If the pneumonia is very severe, it can cause what we call a shock. So you can have septic shock because of pneumonia, and that can be very deadly, and it can even lead to death if it's very severe. So it's important that you get treatment for pneumonia very early to prevent all these complications and to prevent you from spreading the infection to others as well. So we'll talk about how you can prevent pneumonia. Some of the ways you can prevent pneumonia is by covering your cough or your sneeze whenever you cough or sneeze, to prevent you from spreading it to other people. The other way is that you need to be able to eat a healthy diet so that your immune system can be strong, and also exercise as well to improve your immune system. So exercise and eating healthy are ways in which we can improve or increase our immunity and improve our immune system to prevent us from getting bacterial infections or viral infections that can harm us and cause pneumonia. The other thing is that if you are a smoker, then try to stop smoking or reduce on smoking, because that can lead you to getting pneumonia and also getting other infections as well. So these are ways in which we can prevent ourselves from getting pneumonia. Make sure that you wash your hands all the time, because they could be bacteria or viruses that you have gotten from the environment or from shaking other people's hands or from the surface areas around that can cause pneumonia. So make sure you wash your hands on a regular basis and avoid unnecessary handshakes with people, so that you cannot get these bacteria that can cause pneumonia. So make sure you protect yourself, protect others as well, and take care of yourself. If you have any symptoms, get treatment early, go to the hospital as soon as possible and seek treatment, and you will be helped. You'll be given the medications that are needed, and you will become better. So I do hope you learned something this week. Make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel and also watch my YouTube videos. That if you have missed any of the sessions here on the Health Corner on the Breakfast Show. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me on Facebook at Dr. Nawina Lotto. I'll see you again next time. Make sure you stay healthy, stay blessed, and have a lovely weekend.
Well, thank you for staying with us. That was the Health Corner there with the doctors. As usual, we do advise you, our dear viewers, that in case you want to suggest some of the topics that can be handled on the Health Corner here on Camnet TV, you are free to do so and give us those recommendations of some of the topics that you'd want to see. Now, moving on the program, we get to know how the Kwacha is performing this morning. And yesterday we had some slight good news in that the Energy Regulation Board did not work based on the misbehaving of the Kwacha. So now let's have a look at how it is failing this morning. Now, the Great British Pound is buying at 29 kwacha 7.4 ngwe and selling at 30 kwacha 3.2 ngwe. The Euro is buying at 25 kwacha 7.1 ngwe and selling at 26 kwacha 2.2 ngwe. The South African Rand is buying at 1 kwacha 2.5 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 2.7 ngwe. $1 is buying at 23 kwacha 5.6 ngwe and selling at 25 kwacha 0.3 ngwe. So those are your money market updated this morning at being the 1st of December 2023 and at 0709. And that reminds me that we are now in the month of December, the month of the festive season itself, and talking about the issues that are associated with this month, including the important day on the calendar. which is Christmas. And what are you preparing for Christmas? How should we celebrate Christmas? Is Christmas for this year going to be exciting? You are free to give us your perspective on the Camnet Breakfast Show. And also, we are going to be saying goodbye to 2023 this by the end of this month. And did your resolutions came true? I remember myself and my former colleague Shalon Karimbola, we were here and we were talking about some of the resolutions that we had made. I hope her resolution did turn out to be true, but I can guarantee you that some of the resolutions that I have been true, and we have been working as planned. Although some of the things haven't been followed, we have to introspect what went wrong. I hope you're doing the same. So that is important, especially during this festive season, to reflect and see how you can restart your life in January next year, 2024. So now, talking about, we were looking at the money market there. We saw how the kwacha is failing, and now we saw that the Energy Regulation Board made a decision not to increase the fuel pump prices and opted to remain or maintain the previous month's prices. So we're going to look at this story from the Energy Regulation Board, and we'll be back on the other side shortly. Keep it on Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Decided to maintain the pump prices of petrol, diesel, Jet A1 and kerosene. The prices in December 2023 for petrol, diesel, Jet A1 and kerosene will be 29 kwacha 98 ingwe per litre, 29 kwacha 96 ingwe per litre, 29 kwacha 29 ingwe per litre, and 20 kwacha 44 ingwe per litre respectively. The prices have been maintained because the changes in the two key fundamentals that determine domestic prices of fuel, that is, international oil prices and the exchange rate of the kwacha against the United States dollar, resulted in changes in the domestic fuel price that were below the set threshold of 2.5%. Meanwhile, the price of kerosene has been maintained on account of sufficient national stocks. Based on the foregoing, the recommended pump prices for diesel for December 2023 are as follows. Petrol. The current price is 29 kwacha 98 ingwe. The new price is 29 kwacha 98 ingwe. There is no price change.
Oh, well, there you have it. That's the story there from the Energy Regulation Board, the ERB, talking about the fuel pump price, which have been maintained as the previous price. That's good news for motorists and commuters. We are glad that we maintain the same costs and hoping that the situation will continue to improve as the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, as well as the Central Bank, continue to put in place interventions to just work on the economy. We can only hope for the better. Now, moving on, we look at some of the community stories that we had in the main news on Zooming the Headlines segment. So now, the residents of Lusaka's Munadi constituency in Mutendere C-section area have gone for 4 days without electricity, leaving various perishable goods destroyed, with businesses paralyzed. And another story, the government has apologized to students at Kafue Youth Resource Center for subjecting them to harsh learning environment. Speaking, and she visited the facility, Ministry of Youth and Art Permanent Secretary Kangwa Chileshe says all the affected students will be repatriated to other TVETA accredited institutions to ensure that they acquire the right skills. And another story, we have some concerns where some mobile booth operators have expressed security concerns as they conduct their business in Lusaka Central Business District. And one of the operators, Boston Masaka, says their concerns have been brought to the attention of local authority of local government and rural development minister Garin Kombo, and hope that they will be addressed as soon as possible. So now another story, we have road construction works around Chelston Big Market in Lusaka's Chakunkula ward have commenced. Speaking in an interview with Camnet News, one of the residents in the area, John Kufa, has held the commencement of road works as it will ease access to the market at and Great East Road. Mr. Kufa has since appealed for the installation of street lights in the area to enhance security at night. Meanwhile, Chakunkula Ward Councillor Chimuka Njomona says the roads are being upgraded to gravel compacted standard to address the mobility challenges in the area. We are going to look at these stories, and we'll be back on the other side, and we'll be getting your comments and contribution regarding some of the stories that we are looking at this morning.
Tempers were high among some Lusaka's Mtendere C Musonda area residents after going for almost 5 days without electricity. The residents say the lack of electricity since Sunday has negatively affected businesses which are largely dependent on power, whilst perishable foods have gone to waste.
Nomba amenshi for abana beswaba basambiliranga twayashtisha amenshi twashtisha na mafrizit nomba fikutusendele amalaiti tukalalya shani
tukoza kujafuta gari na kweve prevent yonse ya Mtendere yonse vintu mbona mafridges mabucha monse mababa shop wonse kuja warifi
Other residents have told Camnet News that the blackout has also worsened the poor security situation in the area, as the likelihood of night attacks is high.
My drinks is a block of my problem is green. And using a funny security, but is in Gurisa.
Vula Jamila Lokandena in the summer light. Again, into my fridge, no gata. Erokuno kambi che sunga choke usiku panja wakawalala. Uzashoka bwandu usiku panja kwenda ku toilet. Wakawalala wapaya chipempa kwa wazesku. Na mvula chapa na chemvula malati aende sendecha mechirengezi. Na fridge onongeka.
Meanwhile, when contacted for a comment, ZESCO Public Relations Unit promised to investigate the matter to establish the cause of the delayed restoration of electricity in the area. Electricity is undeniably a catalyst to social and economic development, hence the need for power to be restored in this area is cardinal. For Camnet TV News, Afias Kaptula, Lusaka.
The cries of students at Kafue Youth Resource Center has fallen on the listening ears of the government, who have since visited the place to appreciate the difficult conditions under which the students have been subjected to. This comes 4 days after Camnet Television aired a story showing how students have illegally been enrolled using the Constituency Development Fund CDF at the facility not yet completed and been made to sleep in a deplorable infrastructure. Ministry of Youth, Sports and Art Permanent Secretary Kangwa Chileshe and Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development Permanent Secretary for Technical Services Nicholas Piri interacted with the students to appreciate their challenges.
It is now, we can't even write the exam because there's nothing that we have covered. So what we don't want is to have a certificate that is not going to help us. Because yes, the paper we may have it, but with little knowledge, there's nothing that we can do. It is better we have the skill, or even if we fail the exam, we know that the skill is going to help us out there. Right?
Quite alright, we might have a paper, but we need the skills. You go in a job, they give you a work because of your good result, but 1 week will pass, they'll tell you, go back. I think you have to go again, and they should teach you properly.
From the day that they started enrolling the students, this is how this war was. They have been bringing students here with this same infrastructure. They have been bringing students here with it. So they can't complain that the infrastructure is not well. That's the reason why they didn't want us to come.
Meanwhile, Mr. Chileshe has apologized on behalf of the government to the students for subjecting them to such harsh conditions and has assured them that they will be moved to another facility so that they can acquire the skills they sought in the first place.
I came here to apologize to you, all of you, on behalf of government, on behalf of our ministry, to say I'm very sorry that you were inconvenienced since June. Inconvenienced in terms of your feeding, inconvenienced in terms of your education. But we are concerned about your welfare. Number one, from June till date, you've only had 4 lectures. It's only fair that with our youth resource centers that already have accreditation, that are in good standing with local government and in good standing with science and technology, us as a ministry will take it upon ourselves to give you the scholarships. The scholarships. To go and learn properly there and finish properly.
And Mr. Piri has assured the students that government will investigate who is behind the illegality and that all those who will be found wanting, regardless of their status in society, will be dealt with accordingly.
How is it possible that we can get students, pay for them in an institution that has no TAVET accreditation? How possible is that? So I wish to say this, that anyone who be found facilitating illegal things, be they a PS, be they a director, be they an officer, it doesn't matter. What is at stake is people's lives and government resource.
The government has also encouraged the students to motivate other people to apply for the skills bursaries and acquire a skill, adding that the intention of the government is to ensure that citizens are given equal opportunities regardless of their status in society. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
In a build-up to the 2022 Africa Union Media Summit hosted by Zambia, the Lusaka City Council swung into action, removing mobile money booths and makeshift stands along the Greatest Road and some parts of the Central Business District. The move was aimed to creating sanity in the CBD ahead of the July 14th Africa Union Media Summit. Local Government and Rural Development Minister Gary Nkombo assured all affected mobile money operators that they would be allocated enough trading space in the designated areas.
Who's legitimately operating a telephone booth and has been asked to remove in undesignated areas will be indemnified with another. I think that should be an underlying factor, that no one will be left in the cold.
A year and some months later, these mobile money operators have made peace with operating under umbrellas. However, their fear is on the security as they now transact in the full view of their customers.
We complain about security because of the way we are trading here. Security is very risky. There are some people who you have been hearing issues about mobile money agents who are being attacked. And the recent one that happened there. So anyway, the way we are working here, we try by all means to help one another in terms of security, but we need more security.
Tumangala uncomfortable. Let's say when my client mabuela azabona ndo mazambili azabolo azakambata away mu the power open.
Others who spoke on condition of anonymity say the coming of the rains is another issue they stress over, as they have to move their tables and umbrellas, which can't stand heavy downpour, to corridors of nearby shops when it starts raining.
siama balance katika kula mvula ijakuu. So tumataka tutende mkodi tutoche angala nayo sushabe. Mvula kusonga tumbona iroka. So ni kwa sababu mkodi tuwasema.
Meti mankalila mvula ikabwela still safe. Ona still safe. Because ikabwela mvula timaenda tamangira ku ma corridors na mu corridors ikabwela ikulu tisurvive.
When contacted for an update on the progress made in allocating trading space to the affected young entrepreneurs, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development Permanent Secretary for Administration Mambo Hamaundu declined to comment, saying the structures that were demolished were erected illegally and on wrong places. Vincent Piri for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
Good road infrastructure is key to economic and social development as it eases mobility and access to markets. It is for this reason that roadworks have commenced to upgrade dilapidated roads around Lusaka's Cheston Big Market to compact gravel standard. A check by Camnet News Thursday morning found heaps of gravel on the roads with some works having been done. Speaking in an interview with Camnet News, some residents in the area have held the initiative.
We are making pa project imene mwayamba iyo panga marodi. Onadi tinali mu mavuto kwambiri chakuti muntu ngati olo wachoka munyumba so wabula sapato but uzapeza kuti pamene oyenda ku bus stop vimapuzo vota vilimbwe so uzafika uli kilini pamene oyenda. So kulingana na vamene mwayamba uchita hivi ni chintu cha bwino maningi.
The residents have since called for speed completion as well as installation of streetlights on the roads.
I road is the first, kalkosila first zankara stack monga ifama business ko. Maonaka?
Vimene tingafune kuti wachitako machisanzo ma light, ma street lights utilibe ko. Yeah, ma street lights masipano umoyo wa manje umfuna ma street lights nzoona ufunika maroad umwaikako ma light yeah.
Chakunkula Ward Councillor Chimuka Njomona says the road works are being done by the Zambia National Service ZNS using the 2023 Constituency Development Fund CDF.
It's been very difficult to access this market because of the poor road networks. This is in the recent past, but today and going forward, this will be an issue of the past because roadworks have commenced and we've done half of the jobs. They've done the grading, and what we are going to see afterwards is having very good accessible roads which are going to be compacted. We are glad that ZNS is on site and they are running these projects timely.
Meanwhile, Mr. Njomana has disclosed that the long-awaited Kamanga police post will soon be commissioned as it is almost 100% complete.
I also want to mention that very soon we are going to launch or officiate the launching of Kamanga police post, which is almost at 98% completion. So we are very happy that put all these projects together. I think we have delivered as we promised the people of Chakunkula.
For Camnet TV News, Afias Kaptula, Lusaka.
There you have it. Those are some of the stories that were making the headlines in the Camnet main news. And you too now, all dear viewers, are free to contribute on the program by giving us your perspectives regarding what you think about some of the stories we have looked at. Another story we are looking at today is a story where the former information minister under the Patriotic Front administration, Mr. Chishimba Kambwili, who is also the former Loni constituency member of parliament, was jailed to 5 months imprisonment. So that is what we'll be getting your views on. What do you think about the sentence? Is it going to help deter who would be offenders pertaining to matters bordering on hate speech? However, the lawyers to Dr. Kambwili did assure that they are going to appeal the matter, but however, the court had made that decision. So we are getting your comments and contribution, our dear viewers. In case you want to join the conversation, you are free to give us your opinions on the matter, and we are going to look at that very story where the Kasama Magistrate Court has sentenced Opposition Patriotic Front, a PF member of Parliament of the Central Committee, Chishimba Kambwili, to 5 months imprisonment with hard labor for the offense of expressing hatred and ridicule for persons because of tribe and place of birth. And that's a story which happened in 2021 prior to the August 12, 2021 general elections. So we are going to look at this story and we'll be getting your views on the other side. Remember to keep it on Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Nama teachers about 60,000. Ndemieva ndavawine sivahitemwa ichikala chitika vakala ingisha senchitobeka beka ndamwachita apply vayalolesha mulenga bwalia chifunieni pwapa chishimba mutale mfunieni pwapa morini mwana wasa mfunieni poyu wakuilamba kakoma funieni po waku northwestern ndavaisa mona hagahige igohoho mwingisha ninchito mukayakwi elo mukalelila iyo bale ni misoka ine nali abapalama nali beshibeso babo.
These remarks, which were made prior to the 2021 August general elections, have landed outspoken opposition patriotic front member Chishimba Kambwili in 5 months imprisonment with hard labor after the Kasama Magistrate Court found him guilty of the offense of expressing hatred and ridicule for persons because of tribe and place of origin. Kasama resident magistrate Samson Mumba sentenced Mr. Kambwili. After finding him guilty of the offense he was arrested for in Kasama on June 21st, 2022 and charged for the offense of expressing or showing hatred, ridicule or contempt for a person because of race, tribe or place of origin, an offense contrary to section 70 of the Penal Code as read with Act number 2 of 2021 of the Cyber Security and Cyber Crimes of the laws of Zambia. However, in mitigation, defense lawyers appealed to the court to take into consideration that the convict is the first offender, a family man and a person who served the nation. As a minister, the lawyers added that the court should also consider the health of Mr. Kambwili. Mr. Kambwili's lawyers also pleaded with the court to either give or impose a fine or community service to the convict, and if the court is inclined to impose a custodial sentence, appealed for it to be suspended. In passing judgment, Magistrate Mumba took the plea into consideration during mitigation but meted out the 5-month sentence with hard labor to deter would-be offenders, but lawyers to the convict have vowed to appeal against the sentence and make efforts to lodge in an application for bail. Currently, Mr. Kambwili will have to bear the 5-month sentence at Milima Correctional Facility in Kasama. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News.
So there you have it. That was the court's verdict, and we can get your comments and contribution to that story and other stories that we have looked at this morning. So this is a story where Mr. Kambwili was accused of peddling hate speech against the people of Southern Province, and that matter finally verdict was passed yesterday, and is going to spend 5 months in prison. But he's going to appeal, though, that decision. According to his lawyers, they feel they can still appeal, so that probably they can get a lower sentence or something that is they may deem reasonable. So that's the case there pertaining to Chishimba Kambwili. And in case you have opinions pertaining to that matter, you are free to do so and give us your comment. And then we're also going to look at another story where Minister of Home Affairs Jack Mwimbu has warned men of God that fond of abusing children and women that the law will catch up with them. And the Minister of Home Affairs also vowed to reform police officers in the habit of mounting illegal roadblocks to extort money from motorists. So these are quite two interesting stories that happened yesterday when the Minister of Home Affairs was commissioning a police post, and that is in Kafue, And talking about the police post was constructed using the Constituency Development Fund resources, and we saw quite a number of participants during the commissioning of the police. And the minister did point out a number of issues that are affecting and undermining the police service. Among the main key issues, the minister also alluded to the issue of the police receiving a lot of complaints from members of the general public, but at the level at which they are attending to those issues leaves much to be desired, and that's according to the Minister of Home Affairs. And the minister hopes to reform the police service by making sure that people do the right thing and that they take matters that affect the people seriously, and that impunity, especially by criminals who dare the police, will not be condoned. Those are some of the messages that the Minister of Home Affairs gave out during the commissioning of a police in Kafue district there. The minister was also categorical in stating that the Zambia police risks losing the public confidence if it does not take people's concerns seriously and does not take initiatives to engage the people so that the people can equally have trust and report issues to them. He also did point out another important aspect where he advised the members of the general public to desist from a tendency of demolishing police stations when they are aggrieved, saying that approach is detrimental to development, in that they tend to lack security when they demolish a police station, and that also compromises stability in their respective areas. Then we've seen the time and again people go back to the ministry, they go back to the Zambia Police Headquarters seeking that the police post should be reconstructed. But however, the minister was saying there are better ways to address grievances, but people should make sure that they uphold the right channels of airing out grievances. And that was the advice by the minister, so that they avoid from solving matters in their own hands, and that is against the law. We saw that, for example, in Mumbwa district, when we had recorded those cases of suspected ritual killings, people resorted to killing the suspects, and that is unfortunate, because someone is always innocent until proven guilty. And we have the judiciary, which is one arm of the government that is mandated to interpret the law to make sure that we follow procedure and be able to do the right thing, and someone is tried and be able to establish if at all that person has a case to answer or not, and as opposed as to you being the police as well as the jury. So let's always remember to take the right procedure by reporting to the police and let the police do their work. And the minister did assure that he wants the police to work expeditiously in terms of addressing people's concern. And he also alluded to that aspect of how the 156 Constituency Development Fund CDF police vehicles will help in attending to people's concerns, because in some instances we've seen where police officers are called and they will tell you to say Marina transport. How many are the criminals? So those tend to discourage members of the public from reporting, because at the end of the day, when you are reporting, you need to at least you have something on your pocket to just make sure. Probably you have to book the vehicle for yourself, or for you to go and pick up a suspect. So all those issues tend to affect people, and people fail to report to the police. So now let's have a look at these two stories, and we'll be back on the other side.
Earlier this month, the nation was treated to a shocking revelation where Miracle Impact Church International Senior Prophet Bishop John Nundwe, also known as John General, was allegedly involved in a sexual scandal. And ever since, videos have continued to resurface, including one where Bishop John General is seen kissing a minor, much to the dissatisfaction of members of the general public.
Kiss me. Kiss you.
It's worth noting that conducts portrayed by some men of God have been putting Zambia's Christianity under scrutiny, and certainly this has attracted the attention of Minister of Home Affairs, Jack Mwimbu.
Appreciate that this country is a Christian nation, but a Christian nation does not allow certain vices to take place in this country. It's against the Christian teachings. It is our responsibility to protect the rights of women and the rights of children. We must ensure that when people go to church, they should go to church to worship. They should not go to church to provide a service to selfish individuals in those churches. We should not allow that to happen. And I call upon the church, also the body of Christ, to rise and condemn such vices.
Speaking during the commissioning of a police station in Kafue district, the minister took time to warn men of God who are fond of exploiting women and children that their days are numbered. As the country commemorates the 16 days of gender activism, Mr. Mwimbu says it is crucial that issues affecting women and children are taken seriously, regardless of the perpetrator involved.
Not going to allow anyone to abuse women, to abuse children, under the pretext that they are using God-given powers. We have seen, we have noted where pastors are abusing women and their wives are even supporting the abusers, that the women are the ones who are prostitutes by being abused by priests. Can we not allow such things to happen? There is no man of God or woman who's above the law. If they abuse anybody, the law should take its.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
It is up to the police to establish certain points where we think security checkpoints must take place. But we should not allow ATMs on the road.
That was among key messages by Minister of Home Affairs, Jack Mwimbu, speaking during the commissioning of a new Kafue police station and handover of a motor vehicle and motorboat for the police station. Mr. Mwimbu warned against unnecessary roadblocks. He regrets that members of the general public are made to pay money through the back door, warning that police officers who do not want to reform will be compelled to do so.
Not allow roadblocks in the country. Members of the public have been complaining that from Kafue, at times from Kafue to Lusaka, you find 10 roadblocks on the way. And members of the public are made to pay money through the back door. This should not be allowed. It's tarnishing the image of the country, and we are aware that the international travelers are being targeted. Foreign trucks and vehicles are being targeted. This should not be allowed.
The minister also implored people to follow the right procedure when hearing their grievances and avoid resorting to taking matters in their own hands. He urged officers to take people's complaints seriously, further stating that the police risks losing the public confidence due to failure to uphold its mandate.
So the public have been raising issues that there are so many complaints and cases that have been reported to the police, which cases have never been resolved. Members of the public will slowly lose confidence in us if we do not sort out the issues. When matters are reported to the police, members of the public expect that thorough investigations are done and culprits are brought to book. We should not allow a situation, Commissioner, where culprits, criminals are seen boasting in the public that nothing will happen to them.
The meeting saw the participation of Kafue residents, the constituency and district officials, and various government officials. And the council chairperson, Bomba Malambo, and area member of parliament, Miriam Jonya, were among the speakers who toasted to the fruits of the Constituency Development Fund, CDF.
The council is to facilitate development to the people of Kafue, and we therefore wish to state that with the increased CDF for 2024, we are more than willing to offer our support and provide that which we can as a local authority for the betterment of our people whom we lead and we serve.
Kafue, we are talking about having put up several classroom blocks, clinics and maternity wings. Right now we are working on some of our bad roads, and the list is endless. The police in particular, Honorable Minister, has had a fair share of these CDF funds that we are talking about, of course, which are exemplified by the beautiful structure that we are witnessing today, which received a budget allocation of 2.4 million kwacha.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
So there you have it. That is the message there from the Minister of Home Affairs, Jack Mwimbu, who was talking about that issues bordering on the service. He also did warn against men of God, warned the men of God who are fond of abusing women and children, and we did play that other story there, and the minister was sounding a stern warning that those activities tend to undermine Zambia's stance as a Christian nation, rather. And the minister was categorical, and that such a kind of acts will not be condoned, and that the law should take its course. And talking about matters of gender-based violence, as you may be aware, this from the 25th of November to the 10th of December, we do commemorate what we call the 16 days of gender activism, and this day was launched last week on Saturday by Minister of Justice Mulambo Haimbe, and we saw quite a number of activities coming on board ever since, and I'm sure even today a lot of activities are taking place because it is about 16 days of activism. A number of interventions have been put in place by non-state actors such as the Non-Governmental Gender Organization Coordinating Council, the Women for Change, among other institutions that spearhead the gender agenda in the country. So you too can also reflect on what contribution are you making towards ending gender-based violence. We have to make sure that we do make a contribution. Remember that gender-based violence affects everyone, not just women. Even men can be victim of gender-based violence. So if you are being violated by your spouse at home, you don't have to be shy that because I'm a man and people will say, how can a man be abused by a woman? No, men can equally be abused by women. So make sure that you are not that man who's being abused and holding on to. You have to make sure that you report. Equally, if you are a woman who's been abused by your spouse, make sure that you also report these cases so that justice can prevail. Remember that these cases of gender-based violence sometimes can be fatal, especially if you do not take the step to report. So let's just make sure that we are as proactive as possible in attending to matters of gender-based violence, because it is real, it is affecting us as a country, as a people, and ultimately also let's be cognizant of the fact that gender-based violence also tend to affect children, because when the parents are not in good books, the children are equally affected. So let's make sure that we take that message at home and make sure that we safeguard our children and make sure we protect them from any harm. And we preview in the media that there are changes that are equally coming on board pertaining to gender-based violence. We are going to have guidelines on reporting on gender because we are seeing most of the people who are affected by gender-based violence, for example, one of the key changes is that they are called victims, but now they'll be referred to as gender-based violence survivors. So they'll no longer be called gender-based violence victims, but they'll be called gender-based violence survivors. So they are to create a real picture of someone overcoming. You can imagine you just being depicted as a victim. No, who wants to be a victim throughout their lives? So that is what we are talking about when we're talking about matters of gender-based violence. So let's be as proactive as possible and combat this vice of gender-based violence, commonly known as GBV. And how can we even give a disease with a vice with a surname, with a nickname, and the nickname that sounds fancy, GBV? No, I think we need to be more aggressive and more serious about it if we are to even combat this gender-based violence. Remember that gender does not mean women. It means both men and women. So, but how are we, what role are we playing, especially during the 16 days of gender activism, to make sure that we contribute towards addressing gender inequalities in the country? Advocacy has been that we should also have in place a ministry responsible for gender, because after the coming of the UPND administration, we saw the ministry being scrapped off and having it relegated to a department under the office of the vice president. However, people are saying it is not sufficient. A department is not adequate to attend to various issues pertaining to the gender agenda in the country. So they are saying we should have back the Ministry of Gender. Other issues that are coming on board pertaining to the gender issue in the country, the issue of the coming up with a gender commission. So there are calls that we should have a gender commission in the country that is going to look at these issues pertaining to gender-based violence. The commission is important to make sure that it gives action towards interventions on gender-based violence. But the Gender and Equity Commission has not seen the light of the day, and people continue to praise the United Party for National Development Administration to actualize this commission, just like other commissions have come on board. So they are hoping that the Gender Commission will equally be instituted so that it can perform its mandate pertaining to gender matters in the country. Well, we have today we have a nice report where our staff Prudence Tota is exploring the subject of media capture, and these tend to come in form of advertising, in form of groupings, in form of administrations. So now the subject of media capture is something that also tend to compromise editorial policies of various media institutions. Now, Prudence Tota did file this report to just highlight some of the issues bordering on media capture. So let's have a look at this story.
Industrial waste, if not well contained, can be harmful not just to human beings who come in contact with it, but the environment in which it is discharged. The case is similar here in Lusaka, Zambia, in the industrial area along Mumba Road, where manufacturing companies, including potential advertisers in the media, have been discharging waste into the environment, yet the media, who is supposed to hold them accountable, has been quiet and reluctant to report on this matter. This raises questions as to whether the advertising companies now have influence on the editorial policy of the media, or whether media in Zambia has actually been captured. The Lusaka City Council now gives us intel on the discharge.
Whatever is happening within that area is hazardous. So as a local authority, we are concerned because human beings can be in problems with such kind of an environment. So we saw it wise that we sit with these industries, the owners of these industries, and find a solution to this problem.
Industrial waste is not the only challenge that small business owners along this area have to grapple with, but the bad odor being emitted by the waste, which local businesses say has resulted in most potential customers shunning their goods, leading to the collapse of their businesses.
Even if my businesses here, we are affected. Otherwise, it's not good health for the people here.
What then does it mean for media to be captured?
I would define it, or indeed describe it, as some form of control of the media by the powers that be. This could be the government, or it could be some pressure groups, or indeed some big companies or corporate entities that are in big-time business.
Is media in Zambia at risk?
Media is not only at risk, it's captured. If the media is captured, it means the risk stage has even passed. We are now in a stage where we are already captured, and we are running media houses at the mercy of the biggest advertiser.
MISA Zambia, a media body that promotes media freedom and diversity of views, is of a view that media needs to self-regulate to avoid being entangled in legal issues.
Media capture is quite a strong word to use. I think it's something that we should be wary of, but not to state that the media houses have found themselves subservient to the highest bidder. What we see is that the environment in which the media are operating currently is quite difficult. As MISA Zambia, we have actually partnered with some of our donors to ensure that we're able to promote media sustainability initiatives. And this is something that we've been discussing with the public, private, as well as community media, just to ensure that they're able to find a way to sustain themselves.
While the media has the duty to educate, inform and entertain through news, features and analysis, media owners are also in the business to make money. But how can media remain independent from influence by those with the money?
There's a quest for all these aspects where media operate in a very conducive and free, independent environment. But if the media houses or the media sector is not financially sustainable and viable on its own, whether through advertising or through media trust funds or through a model, whether it will be radio tax or whether it will be TV levy that everybody shares, or it will be revenue share contribution, it will be very difficult for media houses to maintain their independence.
What interventions has the Zambian government since put in place to ease the operations of the media?
Indeed, we did request the media practitioners, media operators to give us or to propose to us what incentives they need in the sector. So what we received was that they needed a waiver on the importation of equipment that is common used in the media industry, so that there is no duty, so that it becomes less expensive. And in the 2024 budget, the budget which is currently being debated in Parliament, there is that provision of a waiver of duty on media-related equipment.
A University of Zambia lecturer has proposed interventions on how media can remain credible while making profit out of its business.
There's a need for the media to remember who their promise is to. You know, they have some sort of, not really a contract that they have signed that is tangible, but they have a contract with the masses to give them the best that they can give them. So they should be able to remember that they need to adhere to ethics, to morals and all that stuff. But at the same time, we want to also be realistic enough to say that they need to come up with other means of earning their incomes. We need to get to a place where the media realizes that they can no longer depend on advertising.
The role that the media plays in information dissemination cannot be overlooked, but even this comes at a cost, which, if not well handled, can lead to media losing its credibility. Prudence Chota reporting.
Well, there you have it. What a brilliant reporter by Prudence Chota there, pertaining to media capture, various issues pertaining to the media. How can the media be more viable, be more credible? For instance, how does the media report on this big advertiser when they're giving their advertising on the station, and this advertiser is committing a crime? So those are the difficult decisions sometimes media houses have to make, especially pertaining to those clients. They say, no, they are our clients, so we are not going to do a story that will tarnish their image. So that has to be addressed. But we saw that in that report, a lot of people are giving perspectives on how that can be tackled, and we saw the Diamond Media CEO and the Media Owners Association of Zambia President Mr. Costa Mwansa also giving his perspective there pertaining to how the media can be made more independent and be able to have, for example, if there are revenue sharing mechanisms, the media would be able to be independent and be able to undertake some of its activities without the dependency of the advertisers, because we have limited advertisers in this country, and the same advertisers, then when they have to call the shots when they're advertising. So now how does the media strike a balance? So we were suggesting mechanisms, for example, pertaining to sharing of the TV levy and other mechanisms to make the media sustainable in the country. So we hope that the media will continue to evolve. We know that the media is also talking about the issues bordering on self-regulation. We also have the self-regulation that is not statutory led, and there is also a pending legislation pertaining to regulations that are statutory led. So these are some of the interventions that exist towards addressing issues that affect the media in the country. So that is a story on media capture, which was done by Prudence Chota there. And I think for now, this is where we have to call it a day. We needed to have an interview with our guests, but unfortunately they could not make it due to circumstances beyond their control. But however, we are going to end here, and this is where we call it a day. Until we meet again, this has been Patrick Soko. Keep it on Camnet TV, not just another channel. So those of you who missed the report on the media capture, we are going to leave you with that report again, so that you can equally get abreast with what is happening. This is one of our in-depth stories, and we are going to give you another report that was done by Miriam Kaemba. It's a report on reforms in the judiciary. This is a report pertaining to the issue of where the judiciary is there's a concern on sentencing disparities. So we're going to look at also that story pertaining to sentencing disparities. That is also an in-depth story that was done by Miriam Kaemba, as well as another story pertaining to underground water protection by Elias Limwanya, who is also our correspondent. So we're going to leave you with those stories, and remember to keep it on Camnet TV, not just another channel. Until we meet again, this has been Patrick Soko.
Industrial waste, if not well contained, can be harmful not just to human beings who come in contact with it, but the environment in which it is discharged. The case is similar here in Lusaka, Zambia, in the industrial area along Mumba Road, where manufacturing companies, including potential advertisers in the media, have been. The media, who is supposed to hold them accountable, has been quiet and reluctant to report on this matter. This raises questions as to whether the advertising companies now have influence on the editorial policy of the media, or whether media in Zambia has actually been captured. The Lusaka City Council now gives us intel on the discharge.
Whatever is happening within that area is hazardous. So as a local authority, we are concerned, because human beings can actually be in problems with such kind of an environment. So we saw it wise that we sit with these industries, the owners of these industries, and find a solution to this problem.
Industrial waste is not the only challenge that small business owners along this area have to grapple with, but the bad odor being emitted by the waste, which local businesses say has resulted in most potential customers shunning their goods, leading to the collapse of their businesses.
Even in my businesses here, we are affected. Otherwise, it's not good health for the people here.
What then does it mean for media to be captured?
I would define it, or indeed describe it, as some form of control of the media by the powers that be. This could be the government, or it could be some pressure groups, or indeed some big companies or corporate entities that are in big-time business.
Is media in Zambia at risk?
Media is not only at risk, it's captured. If the media is captured, it means the risk stage has even passed. We are now in a stage where we are already captured, and we are running media houses at the mercy of the biggest advertiser.
MISA Zambia, a media body that promotes media freedom and diversity of views, is of a view that media needs to self-regulate to avoid being entangled in legal issues.
Media capture is quite a strong word to use. I think it's something that we should be wary of, but not to state that the media houses have found themselves subservient to the highest bidder. What we see is that the environment in which the media are operating currently is quite difficult. As MISA Zambia, we have actually partnered with some of our donors to ensure that we're able to promote media sustainability initiatives. And this is something that we've been discussing with the public, private, as well as community media, just to ensure that they're able to find a way to sustain themselves.
While the media has the duty to educate, inform and entertain through news, features and analysis, media owners are also in the business to make money. But how can media remain independent from influence by those with the money?
There's a quest for all these aspects where media operate in a very conducive and free, independent environment. But if the media houses or the media sector is not financially sustainable and viable on its own, whether through advertising or through media trust funds or through a model, whether it will be radio tax or whether it will be TV levy that everybody shares, or it will be revenue share contribution, it will be very difficult for media houses to maintain their independence.
What interventions has the Zambian government since put in place to ease the operations of the media?
Indeed, we did request the media practitioners, media operators to give us or to propose to us what incentives they need in the sector. So what we received was that they needed a waiver on the importation of equipment that is common used in the media industry, so that there is no duty, so that it becomes less expensive. And in the 2024 budget, the budget which is currently being debated in Parliament, there is that provision of a waiver of duty on media-related equipment.
A University of Zambia lecturer has proposed interventions on how media can remain credible while making profit out of its business.
There's a need for the media to remember who their promise is to. You know, they have some sort of, not really a contract that they have signed that is tangible, but they have a contract with the masses to give them the best that they can give them. So they should be able to remember that they need to adhere to ethics, to morals and all that stuff. But at the same time, we want to also be realistic enough to say that they need to come up with other means of earning their incomes. We need to get to a place where the media realizes that they can no longer depend on advertising.
The role that the media plays in information dissemination cannot be overlooked, but even this comes at a cost, which, if not well handled, can lead to media losing its credibility. Prudence Chota reporting.
Sentencing disparities and unequal treatment of individuals based on various factors during the judicial process have long been a matter of concern within society. While these disparities affect communities across the country, it is often those in rural areas who bear a heavy burden. Legal representation is often inadequate, hence some people are not able to argue their case completely to convince the adjudicators to be considerate as they pass judgment. To contextualize the subject during my visit to Mazabuka district, Zambia's southern province, the locals shared with this journalist stories experience on sentencing disparities in their pursuit of justice. We spoke with Moses Tembo, not his real name, a local resident who had a first-hand experience with sentencing disparities. He requested to remain unknown based on the sensitivity of his work.
On 6th of September 2018, I was arrested and given a non-bearable charge. Okay, of course, by the judge of Muslim Commission. So, from that moment, because of the nature of the offense, I was incarcerated. There was no bail, there was no police bond, as per the way the Act describes. There is no bail for that charge. So, from 6th of September, my trial process had to take about 1 year, 6 months. So our matter had to drag. There were several unnecessary adjournments. And during that 1 year plus, I should say the total period came to about 511 days. Just incarcerated, waiting for the matter to reach at some stage where I could see justice. So, what was so painful, what was so difficult is the delay in terms of justice.
To gain insight into this issue, we spoke with Charles Changano, a prominent Zambian lawyer.
You can sentence to 1 day, even if the offense says not up to 25 years, because up to 25 starts from 1 day. So, depending with the nature of the offense committed, what is the community saying about that offense? And you look at the statute, what was the purpose of creating such a sentence? Again, you look at a situation where somebody was arrested and he has been in custody for a long period of time. And when you come to sentence such a person, you should consider the days he has spent. I've seen some instances in my experience when I was a prosecutor. You'll find that somebody has spent 2 years in custody, but the magistrate or magistrate will sentence with effect from that day. I feel on that situation it is unfair.
Moses explains the unfair hearing he went through, however says he was fortunate because he received legal representation to deal with his case. Now, he is a lawyer. He chose this career path in order to assist others.
So you'd find that most of the prisons are crowded simply because they are keeping more less privileged people inside than those with better chances in society. So that is why the law is not applied equally, because you'd find that there are so many modes of punishments, and such punishments are considered in terms of situation after situation. For example, one may be given community service. This can also help actually prisons to decongest. But you'd find that such sentences, which are even much better, they are being given to people with better chances in society. Simply because one doesn't have a lawyer, can't afford law services, you'd find that they are given punishment which is not reasonable. Of course, all this is dependent on the jurisdiction of the courts. But then, the focus should be, the law should be applied equally.
Acting Chief Mwana Chingwala of Southern Province attributes sentencing disparities to the lack of legal representation by the locals. He has, however, thanked the government with its cooperating partners, such as the GIZ, for implementing a program that assists locals with access to legal representation, enabling access to justice, civil society participation and transparency in ACT project. The project started its activities in August 2021 with an overall objective of improving access to accountable institutions and transparent government decision-making processes. Acting Chief Mwana Chingwala, whose chiefdom is a beneficiary, says the project has become a beacon of hope for the chiefdom, adding that the assistance has created a sense of hope and fairness among community members facing legal challenges.
Some people are being accused for not knowing how to explain things in court. People are arrested just because they don't understand what their law is about. But coming of the GIZ through the sensitization or the teaching or the updating of the justice, it has brought the good fruits in Manachungwala. I have good cases that have been gone through where people are fearing to go to court. Sometimes some even die. It's better just commit suicide because I have nothing to do. And how am I going to answer? Me in court, I have never been there. But because of this education that have come through GIZ concerning the justice, it has made a tremendous things in Manachungwala. I'm happy because we are even assisted by the paralegal desk, where the information from the GIZ, the facilitators who are funded by GIZ, when they come together with the paralegal desk, it makes the job easy.
The Zambian government, in partnership with the German government, has so far created 19 legal help desks and subordinate courts, correctional facilities, and police stations to increase access to legal aid.
Currently, we sit at 132,098 individuals represented under this common initiative through the collaboration that we have with these GIZ partners under the ENACT program. So you can see that numbers, which were initially from 69,000 as far back as 2017 as people that were touched by legal aid services, we've gone to 132,098 individuals that have been represented. And these statistics, I must say, are not current. So this is a previous statistic that we've picked. So currently, I even expect that we should have had more.
We sought the views of the Zambia Law Development Commission regarding factors contributing to sentencing disparities.
This is a part of our mandate that until this year, we have not really applied as a commission because of limited resources. But in the last 2 years, we have been fortunate. Our funding from government, we are primarily government funded, has been increased. So starting this year, we have held our first 3 legal seminars. So we are in the process of designing the program for next year for the seminars that we are holding, and we are hoping that we will have a legal seminar every quarter. And we are currently putting together the seminar programs, and sentencing is one of the issues that the Commission has requested us to start looking into.
The Minister of Justice, Mulambo Ahimbe, underscored the government resolve to steer inclusive justice delivery.
It is not based on whether one is rich or poor, but rather based on the offenses that have been committed and the various sentencing principles that are enshrined in the Criminal Procedure Code. Now, there is also an aspect of stiff punishment for offenses that fall in one category. For example, theft. You will steal a chicken and this person will steal $10,000, but you all get 3 years sentence or whatever the case may be. I'm giving that as an example. This is where we want to review the law to give an increased level of discretion to the magistrates, to the courts, to be able to look at the gravity of the offense, even if it falls within one category such as theft. And for those that seem lower, to be able to give a more lenient sentence. If you steal a chicken, for example, you should be able to say, get community service, as compared to one who steals $100,000 from somebody. So that should explain the legal reforms that we are still undertaking. It's an ongoing process because the laws have been there for 1930.
It is clear that sentencing disparities significantly impact individuals in rural areas, making them feel marginalized and disproportionately burdened by the flaws within the justice system. However, with the attention this issue is receiving, there is hope for positive change. Organizations, activists, and policymakers are working together to address these disparities, ensuring that justice is truly blind and equal for all. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News in Mazabuka District, Southern Province.
Choma, a drought-prone district in southern Zambia, faces a looming groundwater shortage attributed to adverse effects of climate change. The district, whose economy is highly dependent on farming, has also seen an increase in population, leading to high demand for water after it was declared a provincial capital some years back. However, poor groundwater management as a result of indiscriminate drilling of boreholes has badly affected the water recharge table, leaving farmers whose crops depend on irrigation in panic mode, posing a threat to food security. Genius Musogotwane is the executive director of the child rights advocacy organization Musogotwane Compassionate Mission, which uses the agricultural-driven concepts to sustain efforts in ending child marriages.
And even when you've drilled 120 meters deep for groundwater, you would find that chances of getting a higher yield of water are slim. And this calls for sensitive and climate smart initiatives around our activities as we do our activities in our farms, so that at the end of the day we preserve groundwater and also we reduce the chances of food insecurity. We need to use methods of water harvest so that at the end of the day groundwater will only be used like in a period where we have such kind of a situation where we are now experiencing El Nino.
Borehole drilling firms, which have been at the center of drilling boreholes or water wells without being regulated or monitored through licensing, are also sweating in siting water as the precious liquid has gone down further, about 150 meters deep. Duncan Banda is a vegetable and fruit farmer affiliated to the Zambia National Farmers Union, ZNFU, and survives from selling his crops in Joma and neighboring Kaloma district. He is concerned about the poor methods of farming by his colleagues in the sector.
What other methods apart from this farming field crops can I do for me to survive? So the best is to get organized and join organizations that can give you information, so that as you stay at the farm or anywhere where you may be, you could have an informed decision.
To help reverse the looming water crisis, the Federal Institute of Geosciences and Natural Resources, BGR, which cooperates with the Ministry of Water and Sanitation through the Joint Project Water Resources Management Support Program, embarked on the implementation of the newly established Water Resources Management Authority WAMA for the development of groundwater management plans. Douglas Lubaba is WAMA's Senior Research Officer and shares some of the benefits realized through partnering with the German Development Corporation in protecting groundwater resources in Joma and other parts of the country.
In areas somewhere in Monze, in Choma, because in these areas, communities have felt the impact of degraded forest because they have lost water, the streams and rivers have dried up, the groundwater has gone low. It's difficult, and this, we are talking about a people who are reliant on cattle, heading cattle. So because of overgrazing, so it has caused a lot of soil erosion, which has gone into streams, barren streams. So working with GIZ, they're working with communities where we are trying to restore part of these degraded catchment areas.
Wallace Shawa is Director Operations at the Southern Water and Sanitation Company, SWASCO, one of the implementing agencies in safeguarding groundwater resources through working with various stakeholders.
You may wish to know that the groundwater resource was mapped in 2007 under a project called Groundwater for Southern Province. So here in Choma, it's very difficult to find groundwater. But with a project that is being spearheaded by BGR, is to try and identify a well field. The other thing is that Southern Province in general is quite prone to droughts.
A tool for groundwater resource management in Southern Province and Zambia has been placed in the hands of water resource managers, academics, politicians, water users, and other interest groups. But what remains is the challenge to put it to use and help to achieve the national goal of economic growth and poverty eradication through sustainable development and management of groundwater in the country. Elias Limonya reporting in Choma District.